tend to move, and I've said this early in my teaching, we tend to move in the direction of the focus of our intention. If my intention is to look at the phone, I move that way. I'm not aware that I'm moving that way because I'm not even aware that I have a kinesthetic sense of perception. Not everybody knows that. 5 senses are what people talk about. Most people know that. The pseudo sense, that's what I call it, I think there's another 6 sense, but the pseudo sense is the kinesthetic sense. The kinesthetic sense lets you know if you're tight in your finger, tight in your neck, tight in your joints. It lets you know where, with the big one, it lets you know where you are in relation to something else. It gives you a sense of being in a relationship. And The Man Who Mistook His Hot Wife for a Hat with Oliver Sacks, he talks about a woman who lost her kinesthetic sense of perception, which are muscle, and the kinesthetic cues are coming from spindles in your muscle. They're little things that come out like that and go like that. Muscle spindles give you kinesthetic cues in specific muscles, joints. Many of which, if not most, I'd have to go, I don't know about contemporary science, I'm using science from 25, 30 years ago, are in your suboccipital, the suboccipital muscle. 8, they're at 4 on each side, there might be a couple more, which is squeezing the muscle spindles. So you are not getting a healthy supply of kinesthetic information. So you don't feel that you're here. So when I worked with a rower, remember the rowing story, we're in the tanks at Harvard, he goes forward, turns his head, pokes his tongue out, comes back. Goes forward, turns his head, pokes his tongue out and comes back. And I said, why do you do that? Do what? Why do you poke your tongue out and turn your head to the side? Or why do you do them both at the same time? Because it's the same time. Well, I don't do that. I said, well, you do. Now, this guy's 6'8", and I'm 5'10".
Yeah.
And he weighs 230 pounds and I'm 155. So I said, well, you do. I don't. And well, okay, you don't. I said, let's work in front of the mirror. Okay. So he's gonna go this way, pull this way, go this way, and but he's looking in the mirror and he sees what he's doing. Alexander did the same thing. His face turns ashen gray. And he looks at me. What do I do? Change. Why do I do that? It's an unconscious pattern of behavior. He wants to win. And when he gets to the top, the more strength things he's got like this, he wins. So he developed a pattern of throwing his head forward like that because he's moving in that direction. And somehow he turned himself like that. The muscles develop around like that. So all the muscles are developed to train him to do that. Until you can sense that you're doing that without somebody showing you from the Alexander point of view, you don't change. That's your personal narrative. You wake up to, he wakes up to that every morning of his life, whether he knows it or not. It determines the way he responds to people in social situations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, withholding definition to me incorporates the inhibited moment. The inhibited moment is when you choose, upon kinesthetic recognition, not to reinforce a pattern. If you pick up the phone and look at it and typing on your computer, you do this a lot. You read, 240 books a year, you say. And so that's a pattern of behavior that you've unconsciously adopted. The way to change that is first to recognize that you're doing it. That's what a teacher guides you into, recognizing what it is you do when you're looking at a phone. It's with everybody. Then, by changing this relationship in your head relative to the organism, you free the ones I just mentioned.
Occipital nerves.
The suboccipital,
Yeah.
Suboccipital muscles. When you free the suboccipital muscles, you release the spindles. The spindles provide more kinesthetic cues, so you can start to row and go, uh-oh, that's how I'm doing it. You inhibit the reaction to the stimulus to win. You inhibit the action to the stimulus to win and replace it with letting your neck be free to lengthen so that the head naturally moves forward and up rather than backward and down. You then let the spine decompress and the back widens as you breathe. That's the inhibition moment. That's the giving direction moment. I won't necessarily do anything but make you a better rower. It will make you a more effective thief. It will make you a more effective mad person. It won't necessarily change your moral. It won't necessarily. She's losing it. So I say, when you start to row and you sense yourself doing that, about to do that, you withhold defining yourself as he or she who needs to do that. When you do that, there's a brief moment in nervous system time where the brain does what it's designed to do without you inhibiting and giving direction. Inhibiting and giving direction is part of the recognition. Giving direction is like taking vitamins. Speeds up the process. Because you're actually letting the neck be free as opposed to unfreeing it. But you're doing it in context with your definition of self. You withhold defining yourself as the self you usually define yourself as. Roger comes in to study for his first lesson. He walks in, I look at Roger, and I going, I don't know what I can do. This is pretty severe.
Yep.
We talk, we have a pleasant conversation. Right away, we have a very pleasant conversation. I put him on the table because it's going to be a lot easier. And it'll be easier on your body. He gets off the table and he's standing straight up. And I'm going, I can't do that. And you're going, where am I? You know, this is great. I love it.
Right.
Can I train?
Yep.
And I'm going, I have no idea whether it'd be safe for you to train because you're going to be doing it out or whatever.
Yep.
So we talk about it.
Yep.
And as we talk and schedule, Roger goes down again. Because you go into your personal narrative.
Right.
So I think the personal narrative is indispensable if you want to evolve the Alexander work into what it actually is. I'm not interested in turning out better thieves. I would like the thief to realize it's unnecessary. And so I think you get a moral equivalent. That's why Frank Jones was interested in the moral equivalent of the Alexander work. And when I wrote the paper on Frank, that's exactly what the whole paper is about. The moral equivalent. It was about withholding definition, but I did not have that phrase. And when I said a thief becomes a better thief, I had not read Alexander's book that said a thief becomes a better thief. And then there's a maxim, and I don't know if it's a maxim or what. I get them backwards. In Greek thought, when there were a lot of really interesting thinkers in Greece in the 5th century, guy named Plato, Socrates, you know, and that is a character is destiny, and destiny is character. And just think about it. Character is destiny. In other words, you're destined to be who you are. And then destiny is character. You can change who you are. Or character is destiny. If you think about that. So that's kind of the conundrum. There are people that say, I mean, I grew up in an environment where people would say this, I can't change. Too old to change. Well, I've got a 93-year-old woman, so too old to change, and you're not working with my body, she said. You're working with all the opinions, attitudes, and beliefs I've had since a little girl, and I'm too old to change.
She's right. I mean, she's not right about too old to change.
She's not dealing with the personal narrative. She is not
right
letting herself
decides
hold defining herself.
Yeah.
Does that explain the difference between withholding definition and inhibition? Inhibition is pure Alexander. Kinesthetic recognition of what it is you're doing, your inhibitive moment, where you choose not to reinforce a pattern that you perceive kinesthetically, and let your neck be free to lengthen instead, which allows a movement of the head away from the body. He says forward and up. Sometimes it's forward and in. It can be anything. The head needs to come up this way, not be pulled into the body all of the time. It can be done, you can do it, but not as a steady thing. And then, so you give the direction, coupled with withholding, well, this is Tommy again. If you withhold defining yourself at that moment, then you are admitting that you can have fluidity of identity. Fluidity of identity is absolutely essential to a good life. If I'm having a conversation with somebody and my words are hurting them, do I want to define myself as he who hurts another through words, through criticism? Or do I want to withhold defining myself as that and see who shows up? Do I want to explore who I am in this given moment, not change who I am? Do I want to explore who I am? That's withholding definition.